my channel. Welcome back to another video. I'm Jessie and you're watching. Today's video is one that I've been wanting to make for quite a while now, and I'm so glad to finally be filming it. In this video, I am going to be reacting to your most favorite and your least favorite book tropes. I went on my Instagram as well as my Twitter so that I could get a good sample, a good poll of responses, and I asked y'all, what are your most favorite tropes of all time, and which tropes would you like to see burn in hell for all of eternity? Also, please don't roast me for the condition of my old phone that I'm going to be reading off of. I left this on the hood of my car and of course it rolled off. I got to it, but only after several cars ran over it, and this is the result. G from Book Roast says, hate characters shown as weak if they need help. I absolutely agree with this because I think it not only perpetuates this harmful idea that people achieve great things without assistance from others, but I also think that it is somewhat rooted in ableism. Starla of Starla Reads says, elder characters is where it's at, and if you've been following me for a while, you know that I agree wholeheartedly with this. I seek out books with elder protagonists, and it really frustrates me the way that elder protagonists are cut out of storytelling. I love reading books from an elder's perspective. I do find that I connect much more to elder protagonists, and that I don't often see them making the same sort of mistakes that young adult characters are known for. I don't know if I'm evil, but I don't like happily ever after endings. That shit not realistic. Give me death and drama. Okay, so first of all, you might be a little evil, Starla.
Why can't you just let people be happy?
I'm one of those people that really likes drama and death and dark endings in stories, whether those stories are in fantasy, science fiction, contemporary, whatever. I really look to fiction as a way to kind of work through deeper, darker feelings that I have within myself and darker experiences that I have had, traumas that I've lived through, and I think that's why I really love dark and somewhat depressing endings, but I also acknowledge that a lot of people read fiction purely to escape from all of that. And I think that that's totally valid. I'm going to agree with Starla here. 85% of the time, I would much prefer a dark ending over a happy one. Books and Cats and Naps says, talking animal sidekicks is a trope I adore. Yo, some of my favorite books and movies and television shows feature this trope. It's actually one of my favorite tropes. One of my favorite oddly specific tropes is a character going on a journey with an animal guide. That is my favorite thing. That is also a trope in Monstrous, which is one of my favorite graphic novels. It adds just another layer of personality to the story. These characters tend to have either a lot of sass or are very grumpy and grouchy, which two types of characters that I also definitely enjoy. Romance where you're expected to feel bad for people making bad choices, i.e. The Notebook. Okay, I haven't watched The Notebook since high school, and I watched it and I was like, yeah, once is enough.
I wasted so much time watching that movie.
I'm gonna agree with this because I hate romance at all. Villains explaining their plans and buying time for the hero. Hate. Can we put this trope to bed? All the way to bed. Let's put the trope to bed, tuck it up, and then bury it at the bottom of the ocean. This is a trope I, of course, can't stand. The reason I don't vibe with this trope is because 99% of the time, the author uses it as a vehicle to avoid writing an actual plan that the protagonist has to escape their current situation. Instead of the villain buying time for our protagonist to reach back and grab that sword or to let the bomb go off for their cavalry and backup to arrive, I would much rather we skip the trope altogether and the protagonist is the one who thwarts the villain and defeats them overall, instead of the only reason that they survive was because the villain likes to talk a lot. Hate. One girl, two dudes love triangles. Why? I am not a fan of love triangles. I know that that is just a awful thing to say on BookTube, but I simply do not care for them. I don't care about them. The only love triangle that I can remember ever having enjoyed is the love triangle in Love Boat Taipei, which was phenomenally done. Perhaps this person is saying they would prefer one girl and two girls, or they would rather see a dude with two girls, but I would question, if it doesn't bother you to see a love triangle with one dude and two girls, why does it bother you to see a love triangle with one girl and two dudes? perhaps, I don't want to make assumptions, but it does seem a little bit shamey. Haunted houses, love them. Look, I know a lot of y'all are sick of the trope of the haunted house, but I think that the haunted house is never going to get old for me. It is a perfect vehicle to explore the ghosts of our past, not just the literal ghosts that tend to linger in these stories, but the reason that the haunted house trope is so prevalent is because so much of our trauma starts at home. And it is a way for so many people who have lived with trauma, whether it's one-time trauma like the death of a loved one, or ongoing trauma such as abuse. Maybe something happened outside of home. Perhaps you or a family member was bedridden with depression, and so the house and being inside the house is a source of horror for you. Whatever the reason might be, I think that the haunted house is never going to get old. It's a trope that's always going to exist because people are always going to need haunted houses in order to have a safe way to examine the various ways in which our souls are haunted. Misunderstood jerk, I hate. He's only an asshole because he's secretly blank at home, ... whatever. Is your name V.E. Schwab? Because you are vicious. Oh my gosh, just no sympathy. Look, okay, I will say, I am of the general opinion that everybody has to do their own self-work. That is so important. You are still 100% responsible for the way that you choose to respond out in the world, the way you choose to treat people. Now, I think that context also matters, and I do think it is important to acknowledge the reasons why someone may be behaving the way that they are. That is something that we can do without excusing that behavior. And so I totally can see what this person is saying. Bad boys are cool and sexy because they're bad, ... and they never have another personality trait. I'm not gonna lie, the bad boy trope got old for me in high school.
And it's not just because I don't like boys.
Forced proximity. And I am here for it. Okay, look, same. What some may call lazy writing, I call an opportunity for the protagonists to get it on like Donkey Kong. Male-female platonic friends that stay friends without any romantic drama. I need more of that. Yo, I have talked quite a bit about how much I absolutely adore books that have platonic male-female relationships in them, because I think that it is so important to portray complex relationships between men and women that don't involve romance. Now, that doesn't mean that those relationships are necessarily healthy, that those bonds and connections are not toxic, but I'm much more interested in exploring, also normalizing friendships between men and women as opposed to romances between men and women. The everyone has a dark oh my God! Akasha! Okay, yes, I know. Okay, va. Thank you. Va. Thank you. I'm closing this door. I'll see you in a little bit. Love you. Everyone has a dark secret trope. Hate it. I agree, this can go. Return of an ex. Hate it so much. So I don't read a whole lot of contemporary or romance where this is prevalent, but I will say I do enjoy when my fantasy and science fiction have pre-established relationships. When individuals already have romantic history between them, it makes their relationship feel more real and believable. The number one issue that I have with romance is that it tends to develop too quickly, and people tend to form bonds that are unrealistically codependent within a short time. Love anything royalty. This I'm going to have to disagree with. I am so freaking tired of depiction of Western European royalty. It's bored. I'm over it. I've been taught to worship white people enough for 9 lifetimes and I'm good. Protagonist being an English or art major, but if she's in STEM, she's not like other girls. I completely agree with that. Bad boys are cool and sexy because they're bad and they've never had another personality trait. Oh, I'm sorry, do most men have more than one?
I'm confused.
Women or NB heroes rather than men saving the damsel. Love this. I am completely here for this as well. But more often than not, I tend to like when the damsel isn't saved by anybody other than herself. Hate, badass female character whose personality only consists of being badass. I 1000% agree with this. It is one of my biggest pet peeves within fantasy. We get these strong female characters whose literal only trait is being strong. That's not characterization, and that's also not what strength is. Akasha, strength is knowing when to ask for help. Strength is having weaknesses. Strength is having soft spots. It's knowing when to be tactical and to plan your moves and to sit back and watch, when to play nice, and also knowing when to pull out your knives. The sarcastic best friend, for some reason, it never gets old to me. I also am pretty partial to any character that makes quips, but the caveat to this is they have to be funny, genuinely funny. Otherwise, it just seems like poorly executed comic relief. The protagonist not having a single healthy relationship with a single living family member. Hate. I'm going to disagree on this one because I think that this is the reality for so many people. So many readers have had to cut themselves off from their family. That is exactly why the found family trope is so prevalent within fiction, because so many of us can't go home. And I mean that metaphorically, and sometimes I mean physically. I mean, this is the reality for a lot of LGBTQ folks with an emphasis on transgender folks. This is also the reality for kids who were sexually abused as a child by one member of their family, and then the other members of their family either didn't believe them or made excuses or covered it up, etc. And so it became necessary for that kid to grow up and then sever ties with their whole family. Like, there's so many justifiable reasons as to why this would happen. And I can totally understand if you're like, oh, I don't want to read books like that. I totally respect that. I personally definitely do not hate this trope because I think it is healthy to have. It's a way for people to have dialogue about these issues and to work through those issues within themselves. And one of the things that alienated me from YA as a kid was that all of these freaking kids had such healthy relationships with their family and their parents were so normal, and I didn't see myself reflected, and that's why I turned to reading adult fiction at a young age. I hate romances where one screws up and has to beg forgiveness so that they deserve each other. I can't think of any examples of this, so please let me know in the comment section down below. Again, I
don't care.
Private school drama, it's my guilty pleasure. Same. I said a while ago, sometime early last year, that I wanted to do a boarding school recommendations video, and I still really want to do that. And what's funny now is that dark academia is like all the rage right now. So now would be the perfect time to make that video. There's only one bed, gets me every time, whether they share it or not, I eat it up, LOL. Okay, look, this trope is great. Again, forced proximity, A-okay. However, this wouldn't work for me personally because I'm the kind of person who is like, I would literally sleep on the floor. Like, I'd be like, no, you take the bed. Because then I would worry that I had somehow like inadvertently pressured them or that they weren't actually interested in me. It was just by circumstance. But I'm also the person that like, you literally need to throw your vagina into my mouth in order for me to realize that you are interested in me, so.
And this is TMI Tuesday with Jessie.
Two fiercely independent people trying their best not to fall in love. Love it. Yes, I am absolutely here for this. I love any kind of relationship where the couple resists the relationship or where circumstance challenges those people's desire to be together. Again, I don't like my romances, my emotionally romantic bonds to be forged with simplicity. I like a lot of pushback. I like to see these people try and overcome things. Fandom, fan culture, fan fiction in books, I hate it. Comment down below if you like pop culture in books. I personally do not. There are some books that are the exception to this rule for me, but for the most part, no. It usually pulls me out of the story, and most often than not, it seems cheesy and kind of like a lazy way to tell you about who these characters are without the author having to do that work themselves. Vendi from Caught Between Pages says, I love arguments after dangerous situations turning into confessions of love. My first reaction is to say that this annoys me because normally I'm like, okay, look, we have too much going on right now to be focused about each other's genitals. Okay, like can we focus on the situation at hand before you try and put your hand in my pants? Like, that usually bothers me, but I think Vendi is saying like, this is after the danger has occurred. You know, the two are at home. I don't know, they're walking back from all of the bloodshed and carnage. They've got blood running down their faces. You know, they're sipping blood mimosas. So I guess this would be the moment where the characters look to each other and say, I thought I lost you. And the other character goes, you never could.
You always had me.
Love found family, hate hiding secrets because I want to protect you. The hiding secrets because they want to protect you runs rampant within this book, and it drove me absolutely nuts. That is one of my least favorite tropes. Personally, this is just for me. I know so many people feel differently and would operate differently for different reasons. But for me personally, if I have to keep something from you that you would probably want to know in order to ensure that you keep loving me, then there's something wrong with our relationship and you probably don't really love me.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm very plain yet stunningly beautiful. I want unconventionally attractive people. Okay, this is definitely frustrating, and what's interesting about it is that those plain features are almost always features that are associated with being a person of color, such as dark eyes and brown hair. Those features are seen as unremarkable versus it's very rare for a character to be blonde haired and blue eyed and described as plain. So I feel like that is somewhat coded to some degree. I love when a seemingly stoic and emotionless character falls for the happy sunshine character. The first couple that comes to mind for this would be Raven and Starfire. I know that they're not like an actual couple, but one can dream, okay? You could just go like Raven and Beast Boy, but I obviously I've revealed who I'm rooting for. I do like this when it makes sense, not when the two are just thrown together in order to kind of offset one another because the author thinks it's cute. It's gotta make sense for their characters. Accidental pregnancy, worst trope ever, and it can't be done well. You know that accidental pregnancies happen in real life, right?
Nobody tell them.
Not sure if it's a trope, but I love multiple perspective books. Multi-POV, heck yes, absolutely, especially if it's a multi-POV fantasy. Indian burial ground trope in horror. Hate it. Might make a channel just to hate on it. Ha ha ha. Yeah, it's racist. So yeah. Emily says older person sharing their life story to a younger person, love. Of course, the most noteworthy example of this in the booktube community is going to be The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which took the booktube community by storm 2 years ago. I can also think of a few other books in which this trope exists, and I loved all of them. I absolutely love this trope, but again, I'm biased to it because we get to have the perspective of an elder main character. Both characters whose POVs we're following are really the same person trope. Honestly, it's hit or miss for me. It works best, in my opinion, when it's the younger and older versions of the character and you were unaware the perspectives were in different time periods. I have only read one book in which this trope occurs. And of course, I can't say the name of the book because it's going to spoil. But this occurred in a very popular Hugo Award-winning fantasy novel, and it swept me off of my feet. It was executed with exact precision, and I absolutely adored it, and I quite frankly would like to see this more. The "oh god, I'm about to die, oh wow, I will have this incredible power that will murder everyone" trope. It's so overdone, but I love it every time. Yo, okay, I was not expecting this tweet to end that way. I am going to have to respectfully disagree. I cannot stand this trope. Why? Because again, lazy funking writing.
Lazy writing.
I can't stand it. The reason I can't stand this is because so often it feels as if an author has written themselves into a corner and they're like, how do I get my character out of this? I know, but I think this is also because when I have a very powerful character, what I like to see is that power be honed and crafted slowly before it can truly kind of manifest. I would much prefer that as opposed to this great grand explosion. When the soft, stubby, bottomy one notices the hard, toppy one is in danger and puts themselves in the trajectory to protect them, and when the other realizes what they've done, they have all the emotions. This is my favorite. This is my absolute fave, by the way. I don't know why I had such a hard time reading that. What I love when this happens is when the harder character is upset, irrationally upset that the softer character risked their life to save them. And then that's what leads to confession of feeling. Now I'm bringing back Vendy's comment about confessions of emotion after the danger has taken place. And I have to take back what I said because apparently I'm here for it. Secret billionaire, lost memory, accidental pregnancy. Hell, I think I've read a book that had all three of these. What? Magical schools, hate. I haven't found one that I've liked yet. I would love to hear in the comment section down below if there is a magical school book that you can recommend, especially if it is an adult book. And I swear to the old gods and the new, if you recommend me Harry Potter. I hate it. when at the end of the series, the main character gives up their powers. I'm not gonna lie, this is never satisfying for me, even if it's for the greater good. Nah, that's my power and you can't have it. You don't want me to have it?
Okay, come and take it from me.
I had no idea my best friend was in love with me all along and I had feelings for them too is the worst trope in the world. I completely agree with this. Maybe it's because no one has ever loved me in my life, but I'm typically of the opinion that if they are truly your best friend, if you're truly theirs, in what true universe could you truly have no idea, no inclination of their feelings for you?
Y'all suck at friendship.
The thriller protagonist, usually a woman, is mentally ill and made it all up in her mind. Oh boy, I sure love this trope. I think most of us can agree that the way that mental illness is used as a plot twist in fiction, especially within thrillers, is highly problematic. Not just problematic, but also harmful and poorly executed, as well as just so violently overdone. I will say, as somebody who does live with mental illness, I often have mixed feelings about tropes like these, tropes that involve mental illness or twists that involve mental illness, but I am generally of the opinion that this just needs to die. We just need to leave it alone, unless the book, of course, is from an author who lives with mental illness, but that's not something that all authors publicize, and that's not something that authors should be forced to come out as having before writing a book of this type. So because of that, I tend to just stay away from it altogether whenever possible. Evan says the character was dead the entire time, and this... Why? I don't know why. I've not encountered a book where the character was dead the whole time. The only thing I can think of is The Sixth Sense, the movie, the 1999 M. Night Shyamalan film with Bruce Willis. And I don't want to hear one person in the comment section down below say that I've spoiled The Sixth Sense for them.
It's been over 20 years.
It's been over 20 years. If you really cared to know how that movie ended, you would have watched it by now. Hate the trope where the hero decides to be merciful and not kill the villain, then 2 seconds later, the villain stabs them in the back. Just kill the bitch. Fucking screaming. Stop. Maybe it's because I'm small, okay? And because I'm small, I don't have time to hesitate, all right? If I get you down, I'm gonna take you out immediately. There's not gonna be any speech. There's no grandeur. There's no hesitating. There's no, oh, what, we once kissed that one time. No, you were going to die. When I made up the decision to kill you, that's when you died. And all of the other seconds of your life since I made that choice have just been grace of God. Okay, no, I cannot stand when protagonists show these last minutes of mercy for people that they have been trying to kill this whole time. Now, there are some exceptions. There are some exceptions to this.
Not many.
I know people are going to be like, oh, but people are human and da-da-da, and human being, and it's hard to take a life. We did not go 400, 600 pages of battles and running through the woods and trying to track your movements as you've set off bombs and ripped people's faces off and put their heads on spikes and done all these horrible things for me to stand over your body as you're bleeding out and then have one last glimmer of hope for your humanity. We're not doing that. I can't, dude. I just cannot. Can I just say, when you literally get stabbed in the back for your metaphorically bleeding heart, I'm not going to smear my mascara crying for you. I'm just not. Romance. Just communicate, people. I loathe the not like other girls trope and its cousin, I'm ugly because I have brown hair and freckles trope. Again, this has always driven me so nuts, where you have these people, I'm not, why did I say people? We all know who I'm talking, white. When you have white girls in fiction who are seen as plain and ugly, and literally they just have brown hair, brown eyes, and or freckles. Any kind of deviation from this blonde hair, blue-eyed, long-legged standard of beauty equates to ugliness. And imagine how that translates for being a person of color. Imagine how that translates for people living with disabilities. Yeah, I have no sympathy for that trope. I absolutely cannot stand it. Now, what I do have sympathy for is feeling like you are ugly, because those features are villainized so much that you feel ugly. Why is this still being written? The miscommunication trope in romance is We're not even gonna talk about it in this video because it'll never end. That is gonna do it for this video. Let me know in the comment section down below what your most and or least favorite tropes are and why. Extra points if you can talk about a book that featured these tropes for you. And if you made it this far in the video, comment down below I or leave an eye emoji in the comments because we talked a lot about brown eyes. Now, I am also going to be making a video titled Tropes That Wasted My Time, where I go through my most hated tropes. So if you are interested in that video, definitely stay tuned. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I would absolutely love it if you became a part of my bookish family. All of my social media links are in the description box below. Stay safe, wear a mask, and I'll see you in my next video. I mean, I won't see you in my next video if you don't wear your funky mask, so just wear your funky mask.
Just wear the mask.